Space stations. Space station is an artificial structure designed for humans to live in outer space. So far, only low Earth orbit stations are implemented, also known as orbital stations. A space station is distinguished from other manned spacecrafts by its lack of major propulsion or landing facilities. Instead, other vehicles are used as transport to and from the station. Space stations are designed for medium-term living in orbit, for periods of weeks, months, or even years. Space stations are used to study the effects of long-term space flight on the human body, as well as to provide platforms for greater number and length of scientific studies than available on other space vehicles. Since the ill-fated flight of Soyuz 11 to Salyut 1, all manned spaceflight duration records have been set aboard space stations. The duration record of 437.7 days was set by Valery Polyakov aboard Mir from 1994 to 1995. As of 2005, 3 astronauts have completed single missions of over a year, all aboard Mir. Broadly speaking, the space stations so far launched have been of 2 types. The earlier stations, Salyut and Skylab, have been monolithic, intended to be constructed and launched in one piece and then manned by a crew later. As such, they generally contained all their supplies and experimental equipment when launched and were considered expended and then abandoned when these were used up. Starting with Salyut 6 and 7, and a change was seen. These were built with 2 docking ports, which allowed a second crew to visit. Bringing a new spacecraft for technical reasons, a Soyuz capsule cannot spend more than a few months on orbit, even powered down, safely with them. This allowed for a crew to man the station continually. The presence of a second port also allowed Progress supply vehicles to be docked to the station, meaning that fresh supplies could be brought to aid long-duration missions. This concept was expanded on Salyut 7, which hard-docked with the TKS tug shortly before it was abandoned. This served as a proof of concept for the use of modular space stations. The later Salyuts may reasonably be seen as a transition between the 2 groups. The second group, Mir and the ISS, have been modular. A core unit was launched and additional modules, generally with a specific role, were later added to that. On Mir, they were usually launched independently, whereas on the ISS, most are brought by the shuttle. This method allows for greater flexibility in operation as well as removing the need for a single immensely powerful launch vehicle. These stations are also designed from the outset to have their supplies provided by logistical support, which allows for a longer lifetime at the cost of requiring regular support launches. These stations have various issues that limit their long-term habitability, such as very low recycling rates, high radiation levels, and a lack of gravity. Some of these problems cause discomfort and long-term health effects. In the case of solar flares, most current habitats even have an acute danger of radiation poisoning. Some space habitats address these issues and are intended for long-term occupation. Some designs might even accommodate larger numbers of people, essentially cities in space where people would make their homes. No such design has yet been constructed, because even for a small station, the extra equipment is too expensive to place in orbit at current 2006 launch costs.